I implore anybody watching this who's a wholesaler or whatever, please, like, learn your business, learn your industry, and learn how it works. Like, I learned the hard way, and by reading. Riddle me that. Reading teaches people shit. One of the things that I didn't even, it was a theory, right? When with Ternus, you had a feeling, and you're like, all right, this fucking lending industry sucks, and I want to make it better, and this should not be this way, right? And it should be, a lending company for investors, by investors, yep. Right? Why? Because I've walked in your shoes, or in your case, your boots, right?
I wore old man white shoes yesterday.
You did?
That's what you said.
You did. They were the on clouds. It was very comfortable shoes. Yeah. And I love them. But, dude, the reality is, I had a theory with the whole reverse flip thing. I'd been doing it for 5 years. I called it Alligato, right? I was figuring it out. I didn't have a lost MIT company. I was the guy on the phone with SPS and figuring this shit out, right? But again, it goes back to learning. I learned how, and I implore anybody watching this who's a wholesaler or whatever, please, like, learn your business, learn your industry, and learn how it works. Like, I learned the hard way, and by reading. Riddle me that. Reading teaches people shit. Oh, this is how lending works. Oh, this is how this country's built. Okay, so it's Fannie and it's Freddie. Okay, and there's a couple other ones up top, and then they trickle down. Okay, and then it's about 100 servicers, and then they go down, and then there's FHA, but that falls under HUD, and then there's VA, and then there's USDA. All right, cool. And this is where the commercial loans go, and this is where residential. Where the fuck do all these properties go? Because I remember asking myself that question. Like, that first deed that I bought for $3,000 was in 2019. Oscar Sotelo was the guy's name, and I remember the question that I asked myself internally was, because everybody told me the deal couldn't be done, and it pissed me off, to be honest. I'm very that much that way. I think you are too, right? I was like, well, fuck you, it can't be done. And then the question that I asked was, well, somebody's got to buy this shit. It doesn't just sit here forever. Well, somebody's going to buy this shit, and then you figure it out, and I was like, well, it goes to auction. That's where it goes. But how is a property sitting for 9 years, hasn't gone to auction yet? I started digging and asking questions and calling my attorney, and I was annoying. I'm very annoying and persistent, right? And I'm like, yeah, Gus, but you don't understand. Like, this thing's been sitting there for 9 years. Granted, my attorney's been 25 years, so he went through 07, 08, and he's like, yeah, dude, it's a fucking zombie loan. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? Because they didn't teach me that shit in the stupid little course I bought.
You're like, no, I was in the house. There's no zombies.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is bullshit. And he's like, no, man, what that means is that the lender, and this is a huge key, this is ding dong, fucking light bulb went off. And he goes, are the property taxes delinquent? And I was like, as a matter of fact, they are. And he goes, and there's an open mortgage? And I go, there's two. Because you taught me how to look up the civil case search. Again, learn your shit. Don't use PropStream, learn your shit. And he's like, that's a zombie. And I'm like, but why? And he goes, because the lender fell asleep at the wheel. Somebody probably lost that paperwork. And that's why that thing hasn't sold. Because I bet you that HSBC doesn't even fucking know that they own that. And he goes, if you go get the deed, you can file a quiet title. And we'll wipe out that mortgage. And I said, say less. And I ran, and then, fucking $3,000 later, like 90 days later, we did a quiet title. It was true. It was HSBC. They had bought it from BOA. That had bought it from Countrywide. Yeah, which is fucked. And if you learn your history in real estate, you know what the hell I'm talking about. It was a big hole, right? Dude, these guys didn't even appear. We got a release of mortgage in court. 3 times we served them. Nobody answered in Ohio. Service return, poof. $200,000 worth of debt went kapoof. And we made $111,000. From that day forward, I just always asked myself, I was like, why is nobody chasing these things? But it was because it was hard. It was because it wasn't instant gratification. You had to learn something different, right? And that's what we've brought here. And that's why I think in our industry, the theory that I've been able to prove and why it's grown so fast is there's a lot of pain in our industry, right? At more so, not on the lending side, well, on the lending side too, but there's a lot of pain in the wholesale space. A lot of pain. I just got the balls to say it. And again, a lot of people, whatever, they're going to say what they're going to say, but I don't care. Like, I have the balls to say it. This industry is in the trasher right now in the sense of a lot of the education that's being put out is the same ticky-tacky shit that used to work in 2013, right? The world has changed. 2, There's a lot of people that won't admit it that aren't making money right now because the cost per deal is too high, the cost per lead is too high. They have teams that they don't know how to run. They don't even know how to fucking track a KPI, let alone write a balance sheet or a P&L. But they have been taught to market to the wrong people. That's the theory. It was proved by how many people ran into this shit and said, holy shit, I wish I would have known about this 2 years ago because this is so much better. I made 2 calls to a seller, got a deed. You try doing that on the wholesale side. No way. You will not get a contract after 2 calls. There's no way. No way. They can't ghost you, which is another thing. And now I'm just highlighting the strategy, but they can't ghost you because you own the fucking deed. There's no seller that's going to ghost you because you own the house.
Right.
So there's no ghost to be ghosted.
Right.
You don't need them because you got the POA.
Right.
There's a magic document. So now you can go and negotiate and do whatever it is that you need to do legally and ethically on behalf of that seller. And God forbid it does sell at auction, you got an assignment of surplus. The reality is, dude, you're going after the right person, the right problem, and you're solving it. Therefore, you're gonna get compensated for it. And this is inventory that even the big boys that I know, they're like, dude, I'll buy everything you have because this inventory doesn't exist. The big guys get it right away. They're like, that's fucking new inventory because that didn't exist before. And it didn't. And that's one thing that I kind of like, whoa, this is new inventory. This is kind of trippy. I didn't realize that we were creating. And right now, we're buying about 5 deeds a day. So in 15 states. So it's not a little bit amount of volume. I mean, we're seeing, and I'm not saying that to like impress anyone. I'm just saying that we're seeing a lot of data and we're seeing what's coming in. And by the way, I'll tell you that forbearance is a real fucking problem. And the can that we kicked down the road from 2020, it's a problem. And a lot of people are they are delinquent. And I can tell you firsthand that Fannie Mae, we've had meetings with them and they're a little nervous, right? Because their delinquencies are up. Now that's the shit you won't hear about, right? Because it's shadow inventory, but it's real.
Right.
And it's a problem. Bankruptcies, again, some more stats. Bankruptcies are up 34% year over year. 44%. So, and the number one trigger in those bankruptcies, I think we spoke about this last night, but for him, the number one trigger in those bankruptcies is that unsecured debt is over 80% of most of those bankruptcies. What does that mean? People's credit cards have run out, free money has dried up, they can't pay their mortgage on their credit card. Default, BK. Where does that go? It's got to go somewhere.